I have been summoned! Piss off, Squirtle. Oh, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Pokemon video, chaps. Today, we're going to be talking about what my team will be for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. That's the intro. Let's start with the video itself, shall we? Obviously, we start off with the starter Pokemon. See what I did there? Haha, we start off with the starter Pokemon. Well, now for real though, when it comes to the starter to choose, I know for a fact I'll be going for Chimchar. So yeah, Chimchar. So this is a thing that has mostly to do with the fact that it was the Pokemon I chose when I played the original Pokemon Platinum as a kid, and as such, I would personally choose it again, mainly because, you know, of that reason. There is like no other reasoning behind why I would really choose it. It's just a starter that I chose back in the day, which, you know, I think fits well. But also there's another fact, which is that Chimchar is the only proper fire type you can get in this game for quite a bit of time. Now, do you need a fire type, you know, in the Sinnoh region? Yes and no. You can do pretty well with just Empoleon if you were to choose Piplup, which I would say could maybe be the better choice in a lot of people's minds. But I want that fire type to cover that typing in the game, so Chimchar is my choice. Now, my goal would be to keep it throughout the whole journey, as having an Infernape is massively useful further into the game with the added fighting typing on it, so really useful against a lot of things, right? Like, just generally will come in really handy, and if I can level it up, like, very fast early on, we can have a very strong Pokemon with the fighting typing against a lot of the gyms, and I mean, literally, you can just take on, like, the first two gyms without many issues, just having Chimchar on your team and evolving it into, like, Monferno, so definitely the first Pokemon, I'd be choosing 100%. Shinx. So Luxray is actually my favorite Pokemon in all the Sinnoh region, and for that reason, pretty much, I have to have it on my team. But also with Luxray, I can cover up my team against like water types and such, since our starter is a fire type, and we'll always have that water typing weakness looming over us. So with Luxray in particular, that issue is not a really large one any further, and basically Luxray can cover that situation. Also, the best part is that Diamond Pearl as well as Platinum, you can find in Route 202, you can actually find like very super early on a Shinx that you can get. So yeah, it's going to be really useful. May not be super useful against the first gym, but Shinx, will eventually be really helpful to the team once it, evolves into Luxray, and its usefulness will kind of shine through later on throughout the journey, right? So maybe early on, it'll be a little bit rough with Shinx, and having it, like evolve and eventually into Luxray, but really useful in the long run. Buizel. Okay, so of course, Floatzel and Buizel, like, they're just like a must-have in my team, I feel like. Sure, maybe not available super fast in the journey, but a kind of a necessary Pokemon in my mind. We'll have to wait until like Route 205 until I can get a Buizel, but once I have it, I will just say that it's going to be the perfect water type that comes in handy against some of those like ground and rock types out there in the Sinnoh region. There's also like better options, of course, for water type Pokemon you can pick, like for example, like Wooper, and eventually a Quagsire, which has that water ground typing, which is more useful, I would say. But personally, to me, Buizel is an iconic Pokemon that I want to have in my team for the sake of the nostalgia rather than just for the sake of like what's going to make my playthrough easier, right? So sometimes the choices here are not always going to be like choices that are like, oh, this is going to be the best Pokemon, because this is not really the case here. I'm not going for the best Pokemon. I'm going for the Pokemon that I personally want to have the most, right? And Buizel is one of those. And I'm going to follow this list. Like, I'm going to follow this list to a teeth when it comes to actually, like, getting all these Pokemon when I'm doing my playthrough. It will make my playthrough a little bit slower, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish it in 24 hours like I usually do, but I want to definitely go for a Buizel, that's for sure. Alright, before we continue, do not go anywhere. You guys have to subscribe, yes, or I will steal all your Pokemon cards. And also, let's get to 1,000 likes. If we get to 1,000 likes, you'll have an increased shiny luck. Alright, well, Squirtle's dying in the background, but that's fine. So, Gastly is next. Now, the reason I want to have one of these in my team is because of that stupid Haunter NPC trade Pokemon from the original games. Because the whole, like that whole thing. And also because there is the Old Chateau mini event from back in the day, where if you inserted a Generation 3 Pokemon game into your old Nintendo DS, it would allow you to find Haunters in the wild inside of the Old Chateau. And for this reason, I really want to have one on my team. And of course, this way we're able to we can receive Gastly, Haunter, and Gengar eventually. And there are different ways to like maybe receive them in Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl compared to like the past. There probably will be a different way, to do this. But honestly, I'm still excited to get them, and I think they're going to be available in the game most likely. They'll probably make some interesting event around them, which I think will be perfect. And also, Gengar is like extremely useful and powerful of a Pokemon just in general, so like that's a useful Pokemon on our team. Now, number 5, now this one is a bit difficult, and that's Riolu and Lucario. So this one is a bit of a rough one, since it may take quite a long time into our journey until we receive and hatch the egg for Riolu from Riley in the Iron Island. So you know, it's quite far into a journey by that point. However, I think it's sort of worth it. I mean, it is a Lucario, and also if they return Mega Evolutions in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, then the idea of having essentially this, like, you know, to wait a bit extra for a Riolu isn't that major of an issue in my opinion. I think it's actually worth the wait, you know, to get it later into my journey, if I'm going to be able to Mega Evolve it eventually, right? Like, I think that's kind of worth it in a sense. So I don't know about you guys. Like, what do you guys think about that? Do you think it's worth it to wait for it and go for that Riolu, or do you think it's better just go for a different Pokemon? Because there are a lot of different other Pokemon that I'd rather, like, switch it out for, but I do think Riolu and Lucario are just top-notch Pokemon, and I kind of need them. So here's some honorable mentions before we get to the, you know, final Pokemon. So Toxic Croak, and honestly great Pokemon with decent typing and overall cool design. However, it just didn't make the cut for me. As well as Weavile. Weavile, honestly, this is such a good Pokemon, and I would have loved to have it on my main team as well, as it, like, overall is just very strong and great to have in your team, just in general. Like, I mean, it's not super strong, but it's like, its usefulness does shine out in a lot of areas with that, like, you know, the ice typing in there. That comes in really handy, especially in Sinnoh, I would argue, it comes in really handy in certain areas. So personally, for that one, I would say I would have loved to have it, but we went for a different number 1 pick. So for number 1, we went for Garchomp. So yeah, yes, the way to get a Gible would be kind of like, you know, sort of after you defeat, I guess, Eterna City's gym, and then go under the bridge, where, you know, the bike bridge, and you can find the secret entrance, which may, you know, into the cave there, which, you know, might allow you to essentially get yourself a Gible. There's a small chance of finding one there. It's like a low encounter rate, but you need to have cut on your hands as well, and if you do find the secret entrance, then there you should be able to, like, find loads of Gibles. I mean, possibly spawning inside of there for you to catch, and voila, you got yourself a Gible that you can then train over your journey as you go into, you know, essentially evolving into a Garchomp eventually. I mean, come on, Garchomp is a great and just really powerful Pokemon. It'd be kind of fun to have one against Cynthia whenever you face her Garchomp at the end of your journey, I'd say. I mean, just imagine it. You show up at her, like, at her battle, and you've got a freaking Garchomp on your hand. Like, personally, I'd love that. So there it is. That is my team. What do we have in there? Well, we've got Chimchar, which eventually turns into Infernape. We got Shinx, which eventually turns into, you know, Luxray. We got Buizel in there as well, which of course turns into Floatzel. We got Gastly, which of course turns into Gengar. We got Riolu, which eventually is a Lucario. And we finally have a Gible, which turns into a Garchomp at the end. So that is my team. I would love for you guys to comment down below, what would your team be for this game? Like, what is your team going to be? And also, which game are you getting, guys? Like, vote right now. Like, let me know in the comment section down below. Which one are you going for? Are you going to be going for Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl? I need to know.